While we're talking about skincare, can we just talk for a second about sun and how
Yeah.
beneficial it is to our
Yes.
bodies?
Yeah, so I mean in the realm of skincare, we just sometimes think, "Oh, the skin, I mean, the sun is just like our enemy and it's just gonna age us super whatever fast." But it's really not the whole story, and the sun is so much more nuanced than that, and actually we need the sun and it prevents diseases, it prevents aging. And I feel like when it's used wisely, it's actually like an inner lubricant. And I think it actually is youthening. And I don't think it ages the skin.
Hi, I'm Missy Macholka, the menopause midwife. I'm here to break down all the things about menopause and hormones that seem overly complicated, which is pretty much everything. With over 10 years of experience catching babies and 2 decades of intuitive massage therapy practice, I have spent the last few years deep diving into all things menopause to figure out why so many women are suffering and why there seems to be so much confusion about hormones and menopause. Calling on my midwifery experience and my desire to help women attain and maintain full autonomy, I will stay next to you during this life transition and help to explain the options as you step into your power and find optimal health.
Welcome, my lovelies. I actually found Living Libations through a very unglamorous personal crisis deodorant. My favorite deodorant, the one I have used for literally 20 years, was discontinued recently. It was made by Earth Science. It never left a white film. I never stank, and it simply worked. I was devastated because I work currently with my armpits over people all day, and no one wants a massage therapist who smells a little too earthy. I then collected so many natural deodorants that somehow made me smell worse than wearing nothing at all. Eventually, I realized that it was the base that really matters. The coconut oil that most of the natural deodorants are made from actually is great for a lot of things. I love it for oil pulling and other things, but it clogs my underarm pores, so it is not a fit for my pits. I became so determined that I actually called manufacturers to ask whether they could recreate my old deodorant. The answer was yes, provided I ordered about 5,000 sticks. So apparently, armpit desperation has its limits. So I reached out to the longevity peptide community, of which I am a member, asking whether anyone knew of a non coconut oil based option that was still healthy. Natalie Nidham immediately said, "Try Living Libations, they're amazing." But I was skeptical. I could not understand how essential oils alone were going to keep me from becoming a walking onion. But somehow, Poetic Pits and Underarm Charm did the trick. And that is how Nadine Artemis entered my life. Through equal parts botanical magic, community wisdom, which is one of my favorite things and what we're doing now, and a deeply practical need not to offend the people on my massage table. Do you remember making potions from twigs, flowers, grass, and mud when you were little? I'm remembering some particularly fancy mud pies. Mine never became anything I would willingly put on my body or in my mouth. But my guest today, Nadine Artemis, clearly had the gift of plant alchemy early on. Even her name feels perfectly suited to her craft. In the ancient Greek tradition, Artemis was the fiercely independent goddess of the wilderness, wild animals, the hunt, and childbirth, which we all know has a special place in my heart, a protector deeply connected to untamed nature. Nadine's passion began to take shape during a high school science fair project when she blended essential oils to recreate Nina Ricci's L'air du Temps. I don't know if I said that right. Perfume. By 18, she was captivated by aromatic essences and determined to move beyond the petroleum based synthetic ingredients filling conventional beauty products. During university, she wrote to distillers, studied historic alchemical texts, and explored ancient botanical preparations. She recreated fragrant formulas such as Balm of Gilead and Kyphi, hoping to catch a glimpse or perhaps a whiff of what beauty rituals felt like in another time. Even the Living Libations website feels like an invitation into this land of verdant scent. It features a line from one of my favorite books in the Chronicles of Narnia. The book is Prince Caspian, where C.S. Lewis writes of drinking deep draughts of mingled dew and rain, flavored with forest flowers and the airy taste of the thinnest clouds. Today, Nadine is the founder of Living Libations and one of the most distinctive voices in botanical beauty, scent, skin ecology, and holistic oral care. Nadine, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. That was such a fun intro, and I love hearing your poetic pit journey.
Yeah, right. I am forever grateful to have something that helps me not be stinky over my clients or just in my life. I don't tend to be a very stinky person in general, but I like to smell fresh, and they've really
Yes.
helped me. Can you
Mhm.
take us for a moment back to what it was like in high school, recreating a really fancy perfume for yourself? What was that like? Where'd you begin?
Yeah, it was a fun moment because we didn't have a lot of self-directed moments at school. Like, it was like, "You get to choose your own subject." It was just like, "Oh my god, wow." And it was grade 9, and it was the '80s. Being the youngest, I had, like, my bathroom was just filled with, like, bottles from my mom and my sister. I loved collecting perfumes, and I had all the little bottles, like, all the little tiny replicas, and I would even mix them, and I was just, it was like a whole experiment thing, but obviously with all the synthetics. And then was at the library sort of thinking about my subject, and I found this book on making cosmetics, and it was geared to younger people. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I can't. But anyway, they had a whole chapter on perfume, and I found that fascinating because I had all these bottles, but we didn't know where does it come from, or, we didn't have
Right.
any blogs back then talking about, like, you know, botanical materials. And then I was reading, and the history was really fascinating, and my great-grandfather had spent time in Egypt doing, like, archaeological digs and doing watercolors and painting, and then we had some of his paintings up of Luxor, and it was talking about its roots in ancient Egypt and Blue Lotus, and I was just, like, thrilled by all that information. And then it's talked about how perfumes were made from these distilled oils that are called essential oils, and you could probably find them at a health food store. So my mom took me to the big city with the health food store, and I had my first whiffs of, like, orange, ylang, like, just some basics,
Mm.
and it smelt so different to me than that '80s scentscape. And it's not like in that moment I was like, "Oh, this is natural and everything else is synthetic." It was speaking to me on that olfactory level. And so I bought some of those ingredients. I mean, I think it's probably in the end smelled better than Nina Ricci's L'air de Temps because that was synthetic, and it was really a nice blend. And so, yeah, I just did that for my science fair project, and that was like a first intro. Then I'd get to university, then it's just sort of normal teen life, and the body shop had just started around that time, and so it seemed like a new frontier. And then I'm at university, I'm 18, I'm, like, learning about food, going to the organic farmer's market, and I was skipping school and watching Donahue. And Elizabeth Benet was on, and she was talking about, like, the diet and the environment and pesticides, and it was sort of all coming together. And so I just started making my own food. I had a book called How to Read Labels at the Supermarket. It wasn't called that, but it was really thick, and it was so eye-opening. It was like, that brown sugar is like white sugar with molasses, and this is corn syrup, and all brands like sort of like cardboard. And I found that so fascinating. And then it kind of was like, hey, like, what's going on with the beauty products, which I feel like I'd read those labels like my whole childhood. You're in the bath, you're reading, and it's all these like big science words. So you
Yeah.
always just thought that's where cosmetics come. They just come from that land of weird names. And then I realized, like, looking at the body shop labels, that I had a lot more discernment to go, but I was like, oh, this is like total BS. Like, there's no fuzzy peach in the fuzzy peach bath oil, and Dewberry's not a plant, and the cucumber face toner never saw a cucumber.
Right.
So it was in that moment of, like, that, within a couple weeks of watching Donahue and all that, I'm just kind of so excited that I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make my own stuff." And so I feel like I finally had this because I saw the reality of the cosmetics or, like, the beauty stuff that it wasn't, but I feel like that part of me that always wanted to blend and concoct, always, like, so happy to, like, have a reason why. And so
Yeah.
that's when I really got into it all and making, like, oils and lip balms and perfumes, and then working with those essential oils, and then really going deep into that research and seeing how they are these beautiful ingredients. So we're not just looking at moisture or, like, like keeping our skin moist. but like that they can do things like we can improve microcirculation. We could actually take care of acne. We have solutions for eczema. And so I just love that these active ingredients could really take care of beauty in a way because I was really beginning to feel at that point that beauty and health were just sort of one, and that all those little things that can come up on a micro level for health, can be addressed a lot with the ingredients that we're using. And if we're in harmony with our body's innate intelligence, that just seemed like an easier path. And I like looking at what is like the least effort we can give to things on a level,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to maintenance of our bodies. Like, it's definitely where we want to have some ease.
Definitely. And I think you bring up so many things that are reminiscent of my childhood as well and
Yeah.
my young adulthood. Donahue. And
Yeah.
the Body Shop. I mean, I was so excited when the Body Shop came out because I was like,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, it's a natural place and I can go get really healthy stuff that smells good and looks it's in a cute bottle and all of these things. And then the older you get, the more you dig into the stuff, you realize there's no fuzzy peach in the fuzzy peach and no cucumber in it.
Right.
And I do
Yeah.
love that we have today, like the Yuka app. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Lemon.
Yuka. And if something has a barcode on it, they will
Mm.
scan it, and you don't have to sign in every time. You just keep the app there, you tap it, and you just take the picture right there. You don't have to, because I hate apps where you have to, like, re-sign in all the time. But you just at the wherever you're buying stuff and you scan it, and it'll give you a 0 to 10 rating depending
Mm.
on the toxicity of the ingredient on
That's
their
all.
scale. I just find it really helpful when I have my daughter who's 16, at the store if she wants to buy
Yeah.
something. We can compare and contrast items, but she often makes her own stuff too now because she really doesn't
Oh,
like
that's
seeing.
awesome.
She makes our laundry soap now, which is so cool. But I love that we have some more tools nowadays to do this. So even if someone is just gonna start somewhere with, like, what's in their bathroom, they can scan all the things in their bathroom and kinda make sense of how toxic
Yes.
is this product that says it's natural.
Just, throw some lavender fields on the label, and it's all good.
Right, right, definitely. Before we carry on to the next part, I have to ask, with all that experimenting you did, creating perfumes and all these things, was there ever, like, a spectacular miss? Like, was there a scent
No,
disaster?
not really, because I feel like most of when I'm it's like I do it, it's happening all in my brain, and I
Mhm.
kinda get sort of images even of, like, the numbers for the recipe, and it's
Oh,
kinda like
wow.
I'm mixing color. It's kinda like everything is a color, and so there's sort of a palette that all works out beforehand. And so when I'm getting to that moment, it's like pretty much 98% done. So when I get to the real life moment, it's been mapped out. So I don't feel like there really
Ooh.
has been.
It's almost like you have scent synesthesia or something.
Yeah, I think I do have a sort of synesthesia. Color is a whole situation in my brain. Like every word like I speak has a color, and all the oils have a color. There's a lot of color.
Yeah, and that is something that I noticed about your products too, is they are beautiful. This
Yeah.
gorgeous
Not all just
blue.
working with whatever, the plant pigments are offering.
Yeah, because there's no color
No,
added to
no.
anything, and, like, here's the color of the open
Oh, the
sky.
open sky eye serum, yeah,
Oh, I'm more on right now.
yeah. That's got blue, tansy, yarrow, and German chamomile, which are like there's 4 oils that are blue, which is from the camazuline, which is super rare, obviously, in the plant world, but, of course, what is blue? It is anti-inflammatory, and it's very calming and cooling, like, literally, that's the phytochemistry of those plants, and it makes perfect sense because blue's sort of the antidote to red.
Yeah, if you want your eyes to feel just totally refreshed and woken up in the morning, open sky eye serum. The stuff is insane. It's so
It
wonderful.
it works, yes, and
It
it like
really.
puffs and good for hangovers.
I'm going to a very big wedding next weekend,
Oh,
and so I
fun.
might need it for that. I'll have to
Maybe
try.
you will.
Okay, well, let's dive back into skincare. Can you help kind of clear up some of the information about when people over cleanse and the skin microbiome? And then, as kind of a part of that, I would love to know what the term slugging means. I looked it up, but I'm
Oh,
still confused. And I need a little help because I'm kinda out of touch with some of the more current terms of what you do with skincare.
Yeah. Well, I think slugging got popular again with like Korean beauty.
Mhm.
And it really just means you're adding an occlusive layer. So there's like different ways to do it. But basically, yeah, it's just sort of doing your whole beauty thing and then adding on an occlusive layer, which for us
Okay.
is like we have really juicy balms and then we also have ozonated balms. So we run ozone through them and then you're getting a beautiful ozone layer that is like the texture ish of like a Vaseline ish.
Okay.
That's right. But you got that like that kind of creamy balm. But it's not a cream. You know what I mean? And so
Okay.
probably there's no water in that.
Okay. And
There's,
that goes
it's
last
cool. Yeah, you
after
put it on last because then it's sealing it in. So
okay.
and then you can do like a there's like the 7 skins, which sounds so fancy, but all it is you would like, even if it's just mineral water, so a layer of water, then take, like, something like the serum, like the Open Sky serum or Best Skin Ever, and then you're patting the oil on top of the water, and you do that 7 times. So you pat it in, and then you finish with that occlusive layer. So
Oh,
that's, it's simple. It sounds kinda fancy, but that's the slugging so to speak.
okay.
So yeah, or, you get your juicy things on, and then you just put that layer that will seal it on. So it's normally a nighttime practice because 'cause you're just really lubed up, and then it
Okay.
absorbs overnight.
Ooh,
And then
that
what we
sounds
do have
amazing.
what you could seal it with, because the disposable masks, there's a lot of issues with them, including, like, the water and the preservatives, because it really would be going moldy and, like,
Ooh,
it could be just tap water from China or, because most of the sheet masks are made there. And then, yeah, there's all kinds of ingredients. Anyway, so we have the silicone mask. You can just use it over and over, like, for years. And it's just literally medical grade silicone. It's very thin. And you just kind of put that on top of the occlusive layer. And then that stops the evaporation even more.
wow.
It's just a
Oh.
very simple technique, and then we also just sell sheets of it, so you could put it over a huge area, like, your chest, or if you've had a cesarean section, you could just lube that up, get the occlusive layer on, and then just put that band of silicone on, and then it's just healing will be so fast because, again, the phytochemistry in the oils or things like sandalwood, like, I think we're sort of used to maybe essential oils, and we may forget or we never knew but if we want work to get done, as in clearing up, eczema, rosacea, psoriasis, scars, acne, hyperpigmentation, the whole palette of essential oils is there with like such magnificent phytochemistry to really take care of the issue.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. I so when you say 7 skins, you pat 7 times or you do the order of operations 7 times and then
You
do
do it 7 times. Yeah. So
you okay.
water, oil, pat, water, oil,
Okay.
pat. And then last time is the occlusive layer. And
Okay.
you know what? It does kind of make a difference. You
I bet it
really
does.
there is a feeding there is a more it definitely is a deeper hydration.
Oh my goodness. I need like little cheat sheets for all of this.
Yes.
No matter how many Cosmos I read when I was
Oh,
younger,
yeah.
I still don't know how to do makeup.
Oh, I feel like I don't really know how to do makeup. I feel like I've like, whatever I was doing at 16 is pretty much what I'm doing now, which is
Same
like
here.
mascara and eyeliner.
Yeah,
It's
mascara, a little bit of lips, and that's it. I'm good to go.
yeah,
It's very simple.
and, like, contouring, I don't even know, but I wouldn't use foundation anyway, but I don't even like, it's so gotten so complex, which is awesome and good for people, but I'm not there. But I do know skincare.
Yes, yes, and I think that's if you have really good skincare, then makeup is just fun and
Yes, and
and not essential.
that's what I like to yeah, to get so that people are really just getting into, like, their best skin. We have so many beautiful one of my favorite things is when people say, "Oh my god, like, I feel like I don't have to wear, makeup just to leave the house,"
Yeah,
which is just a nice it's good not to have that pressure, so to speak, that you can just feel good in your own skin.
it really is, and while we're talking about feeling good in your own skin and doing the 7 skins, but can you talk about oil cleansing? Yeah, because I think the microbiome of the skin, of the face, how we're scraping it all away all the time. And
Yeah,
now shifting I just shifted to oil cleansing not too long ago because I don't know if you've heard of Green Goo. Do you know that
mhm.
company? They're an American-based company, and I just had their founder on the pod, and
Oh,
I've been
fun.
using some of their oil cleansing on my face, and I'm so happy about it, and my skin is like, "Thank you."
Yes. It's really key. We have like our best skin evers. That's what we call like our this one bottle does it all, and it
Okay.
launched a whole new era of oil cleansing. And when I was, sort of formulating the full line, I mean, obviously it's evolved over 30 years, but in the 90s, and I was like, yeah, like, so it's taking a natural approach to like, how are we cleansing our skin and these surfactants and are they needed? And I always love to look at what was done in like before the 1800s for sure, and what were they really doing in ancient times? Because really in the 1800s, there was even a bit of, if I'm thinking of Europe and stuff, there was a bit of a revival of like, well, what were they doing in the ancient times? So they were looking to that. And I love that era because, it's just on the cusp of the 1900s where then all of a sudden things start getting like we start being able to synthesize ingredients.
Mhm.
So I just find that area very juicy. So what were people doing in the Roman baths and the Berber women and then, that were like leading a more nomadic lifestyle and the ancient Egyptians, everything. They were cleansing their skin with oil. When we look at a variety of cultures in different ways, they were basically like in, a Roman bath, it would be like oiling you up, then using like a strigil, which is kinda like a gua sha, which is just like a flat scraping kinda knife, but scraping's a bit too strong a word and so is knife, but, like, if you took the back of a butter knife, you can imagine that, so you're all oiled up, and then you're just, scraping that oil kinda off.
My gua sha
Oh,
so
yeah,
that
there you
people can
go.
see this is one shape of a gua sha.
Yeah, and so you can get that sometimes there's ones that are a little bit more have an edge where you can get a little bit more of a scrape, but you can also
Mhm.
just use like a good terry cloth, and you're oiling that, and that's what you can use for your face, so it's the same applies, and the basic chemistry is that the like lifts the like, so the like's attracted to the like, so the oil is gonna lift and cleanse the skin because it's sorta like a magnet drawing it out, whereas water's not gonna draw it out, and soap doesn't quite do it the same way, and the soap wasn't where it's at right now, which is very syntheticized, and we're stripping our skin, our scalp, our faces with these harsh detergents, even if it's like a gentle foam and cleanser from Whole Foods or whatever, it's still got harsh surfactants that
Mhm.
don't belong on that skin microbiome and aren't really doing what we wanted to do, which is to cleanse and lift things out, especially if we did wear makeup or foundation. We really want to make sure it's out of our pores.
Mhm.
And then when the microbiome came along, because it's still quite new, so we were into oil cleansing before, then we understand about the microbiome, which then only gives it even more purpose to oil cleanse because we're not disrupting the microbiome. And as gross as it sounds, bacteria are beauticians. So we need to be working with our beneficial bacteria, not mutating them or making species extinct through the chemicals that we're applying that then create a dependency loop because we've stripped away like the natural balance of our acid mantle, the lipid barrier, and the stratum corneum, which is the very, very top layer of the top layer of the skin and that's also what's getting over exfoliated, over chemical peeled, over exposed. So that very top layer is like so there's the dermis layer and then the epidermis. So I'm talking about the top layer, which is so super thin, like the side of a credit card. And in that thin layer is 5 layers. So we're taking away sort of the top layer, and then we're making the cells go too quickly to get to that top layer again because we've made the skin too vulnerable. So underneath those cells are going to go, okay, we got to produce more. So then we're getting into a weird overproduction of cells. And then with the oil that we've stripped away, our sebum, our sebaceous glands are getting out of balance. So like, oh wait, we got to produce more. And then you've got to get into an oil loop or a dry loop. And then what we learned from studying the microbiome is that the surfactants that we're using are also leaving behind microscopic splinters in the stratum corneum in the cells, and so we're getting a micro residue on our skin from the things that we're applying, and they're not just rinsing away with like
Mm.
more of the surfactants. And then those can build up over time, creating patches again, there's an internal story as well that makes things happen like eczema and hyperpigmentation, but we're also creating havoc on that top layer by using ingredients that are not compatible with our skin, forgetting, not to mention that they're chemicals,
Right.
generally speaking, or have things like methylparabens in them, which only a paraben is like a part of the preservative system and it's very effective. If it's in a formula, it's only at like a 0.01%. So it's micro. And yet, when they're examining diseased breast tissue, 99% of diseased breast tissue has parabens in it. So things are getting
Wow.
lodged into our systems and our bodies that aren't leaving. So there's
Mhm.
a whole thing. But that being said, like cleansing with oil is like literally the best thing you can do, besides all that other stuff. And even if you have like the greatest foaming cleanser, the oil cleansing is the answer. But within the oil cleansing, you've got to make sure that the oils are good is
Right.
then you've got natural oils that aren't maybe they're rancid. You know how basically every avocado oil out there would have mixed other oils in it if you sent it to the lab, just like many olive oils. So then within the skin oil industry, there would be additives. And then there's ones that just aren't good for our skin, like grapeseed, almond, peach kernel. Those are always going rancid. And then there are some beautiful oils like a hemp seed, but it's for topical and in a product, it's probably gonna be rancid by the
Mm.
time you've got it in your home. So
Mhm.
they're lovely oils, but their rancidity is too quick. So one thing that I love formulating with, and I have been since the beginning, is jojoba oil, which comes
Mhm.
from the desert plant, and it is the most synergistic with our human sebum. So when you start cleansing with the oil, it's like a real biological homecoming. And normally right away, it's just smooth sailing and the glow and the finesse just starts building each day. Or maybe like 5% of people that are switching, there can be a cleansing period because
Mhm.
that residues are coming out. Your skin's having a break. So for some, they do like a bit of a 14-day reset
Mhm.
where just oil cleanse and then moisturize with that. You can use the same bottle of Best Ever. And we have beautiful ones like frankincense, Ever, sea buckthorn, Ever, and, they have nuances for types of skin types and that kind of thing. So sometimes there's a reset, but then you just give your skin a whole break if you can and not do, even makeup, sunscreen, just give it all a break. And
Mm.
that's really good for people, especially if you've been, applying things for decades now. So you just give it that rest and let the skin and the microbiome really come into that biological homecoming. Work with the innate intelligence of your body with the right ingredients, and then things get a lot easier. And it sounds crazy, but especially if you have acne, you might be like, "Yeah, that sounds good," but I've had like cystic acne for a decade, but it really transforms that completely.
Yeah, it's kind of like, did you ever do the no shampoo thing?
I did a bit. I do find it a bit drying, but I love using apple cider vinegar as a
Mhm.
hair treatment, and then what's good is if you use the baking soda in like we have a really good gentle shampoo, and then you can use a bit of baking soda in that shampoo and get rid of that previous residue too, because there's so much residue in
Mhm.
modern cosmetics.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, like, relating it to when you do the facial cleanse or,
Yeah.
like, when you give your skin a break and it might get a little more oily to start or, not as beautiful for a couple of days as it's kind of sorting itself out. When I did no shampoo I did, like, really literally no shampoo. I just, like, scrubbed my scalp. I didn't put anything in my hair, and my hair got it was pretty greasy for about a week, and
Yeah.
then it was amazing. My only problem is I don't like the smell of hair.
Yeah, yeah.
And my hair doesn't stink, but I just don't love the smell. I like my hair to smell a little bit, and I know fragrance, and I don't put fragrance in my hair. I use essential oils and stuff, but I really
Yeah.
couldn't get past that smell, so I do wash my hair, but really gently.
But that's a
Mhm.
good reset. And
It was a
I do
great
have
reset.
on Substack, I have a really deep dive article on hair care. Like
Oh,
it will
cool.
like everything you've ever wanted to know from like gray hair to shedding to the best of the ancient recipes to how to make the rice water. Why is it shedding? How you can stop the shedding right away at
Oh.
any stage. It's like about I was about a 60 page. I don't know what size stack doesn't have pages, but when I wrote it in Word, it was like 60
Oh
pages.
my gosh, okay. Well, I will link to that in the notes for sure because I wanna make sure that people can
I
help
just wanted
themselves.
to get yeah, like I have like 30 years of like hair tips and everything inside. It's like, oh, we gotta get it all out now, you know?
Well, I just wanna clarify so I understand this. So you're using for the 7 skins, you're using that same product to do the cleansing before you do the 7 skins,
Yeah, you
correct?
would cleanse with the with our best skin ever, which is the oil cleanse. So to basically oil cleanse, it's really not complicated, but you can use either like we have organic hemp cloths, which have a good like they have a good texture, but like just a classic terry texture cloth can really be enough for your daily exfoliation. And that's a really good thing to do over the body too. So you get out of a bath or shower. It's great when you're still a bit damp because it will the pores open and it will spread your oil farther. And then you squirt oil on the cloth, spot on the cloth, and then you just go over your body. Same thing with the face. So you would just like splash your face, get a wet spot on that cloth, squirt oil,
Mhm,
or use the organic cotton rounds, those flat rounds,
mhm.
especially if you have a whole makeup situation first, you'll want to use I think the cotton rounds. And if you have anything like rosacea, eczema, acne, use the cotton rounds because things are so sensitive at that phase, like even a
Mhm.
detergent could be throwing things off. And then you can either just have mineral water or like a fulvic acid water, or you could even have a really diluted apple cider vinegar, like 20% spring water to that, or distilled water. You can make carbonated water with like a soda stream situation.
Oh,
There's carbonated water use. That's amazing.
wow.
And then, yeah, they're even putting carbon into cosmetics, but you can just like quickly do it yourself. And another thing I love as a toner is using an essential oil that you know is generally we're diluting, but sometimes when you want to use essential oil neat, and that means straight up. And we have a line called Doodab, which is for spots and acne and melasma and scars. They're very concentrated. But you could use one of those, but you can also just use like a frankincense or a lavender as long as you already know your history with that oil. Generally speaking, for 90% of the population, you can just put that on straight and there's no issues. And you take that cotton round, put a little spot of water, put a drop or 2 of the oil, and then you do that, and it's such a good cleansing solvent.
Mm.
You can feel it
Mhm.
in your pores. So you could do that so for then you do your oil cleansing, you do a little frankincense toning, then you can go into your 7 stages or just do it once where you get like a neat water, like a apple cider vinegar or carbon water, and then you're just using a drop or a squirt of the best skin ever, and you can repeat that 7 times. Now we do make
Okay.
beautiful creams and serums, but
Mhm.
literally the best skin ever can be your whole thing, and men like it too because then they only have 1 bottle, and you can use the best skin ever all over your body, and you can also use it as a hair oil, a scalp oil,
Oh.
ends of hair oil. Yeah.
I gotta try that. While we're talking about skincare, can we just talk for a second about sun and how
Yeah.
beneficial it is to our
Yes.
bodies?
Yeah, so I mean, in the realm of skincare, we just sometimes think, oh, the skin. I mean, the sun is just like our enemy, and it's just going to age us super whatever fast. But it's really not the whole story, and the sun is so much more nuanced than that. And actually, we need the sun, and it prevents diseases, it prevents aging, and I feel like when it's used wisely, it's actually like an inner lubricant, and I think it actually is youthening, and I don't think it ages the skin. That being said, we don't wanna get burnt,
Right.
and if we have some melasma patches, we may need to protect them in the sun. The sun can be an aggravator of hyperpigmentation, but it is not the root cause of that, just to kinda get that out of the way. And then so you can also experiment with what we're saying, but you don't have to put your face in the game, so to speak. So you can just start with your body. And if you do want to avoid the sun, and definitely even if you're into the sun, you can't be in it all day. Or I mean, you can be, but you would obviously have to. Your skin can't be in it all day. So if you do need to block or not have the sun on your face, then just try anything but sunscreen. You know what I mean? Like wear a hat, think about the time of day or whatever, but just we don't want to be baking those chemicals into our skin. And besides the chemicals, the crazy thing about sunscreen is that it separates our reception of the sun's rays. So we block UVB but not UVA. And now we're just getting isolated UVA, which is skin damaging. And now we're not getting UVB, which is the one that's going to help to generate vitamin D. But we definitely want to receive the rays together, which is there's more than UVA and UVB, but we don't
Mhm.
want to start messing with the reception. So that is also one thing to know. And then the other thing is like the sun is different kind of every minute of the day and where it's in your geographical location. So
Mhm.
I like it. There's an app called Dminder, 5 types of skin, like from the one being your redheaded Irish person, moving the way up. So you put that in your longitude and latitude. So you know. And then what that's also telling you is like what's the sun doing right here, right now. So it's July, it's summer in Canada, so it's, strong and it's strong early, but the UV isn't coming until about 9, right? So you've got that whole window, and by October, the UV is very weak here, and it's not even coming into play till about 11.
Mhm.
You have all that time, and then it leaves, of course, different times wherever you are, but by about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, depending on where you are, then that UV is leaving. So that is like, you are fine. There will be no wrinkles happening or anything in that time. And that starts to acclimatize your body. Why is red light so popular now in red light masks? Because especially in beauty, I feel like where it's just been the story about sunscreen, we have been so deprived of light and then just exposed to the red light from our screens and our lighting system and then not getting any natural light. The morning light is like your OG red light mask. You're getting that full spectrum, and yes, the sun does create melanin, which does create that base tan, but like the sun is offering so much more that we
Mhm.
know a lot about, but we're still going to be learning like 100 years from now. But in that morning light, you're creating intra mitochondria melatonin, which is essential for your sleep at night, and one of the greatest antioxidants, and literally helps you, prevents you from burning. So
Yeah.
another actually good sunscreen is melatonin. And you can take that in the day and it helps you preventing burning. And we want to look at that sun for the hour, at both ends of the day. You can look right at the sun. And if it's too much, you might just cover one eye and then let the light in and then cover the other eye. But you do want to eventually have your eyes be able to bring in that light. And that helps to prevent crow's feet as you're not squinting to just bring in the light of the day. And then you're activating like healthy cholesterol, again, through no topical. Healthy cholesterols, antimicrobial peptides, amino acids. There's a whole beautiful thing going on. And the skin and the eyes need to see the light. And when the UV kicks in, that's when you're going to get a little bit more mindful. But again, is it the first hour of UV, which is going to be different than your solar noon of UV? I like to get my sun in before solar noon, which is 1 o'clock in our area. So it could be 2 o'clock for some people, it could be noon, but the D minor will tell you solar noon. And then I love getting that end of day sun. So there are many ways to work with the sun that don't even involve like tanning or not. So know those windows, and then know too, like you don't have to wear sunscreen to just go from the parking lot to the mall or like these small things. But if you do have longer periods of time, like, look at the parasols or hats or whatever you can, because you don't want to be baking that in and you don't want that on the top layer of your skin because, most of the time it's going to be like titanium dioxide, which is supposed to be the health version, etc. But you definitely, if you don't want the sun, then you want to block it. But you don't want to be like sun tanning with sunscreen on. So if you're making that just because that's actually what I can get the people that are like, I don't want any sun and they feel like it's going to create wrinkles and melasma. But then there's people that tan with SPF on. And I'm like, if you're going to tan, you want to tan, But maybe, but you don't want to lie out for 3 hours with sunscreen on. Get in that 1 hour with no sunscreen and receive the fullness of the rays that are going to help your whole immune system. We do have a beautiful formula called Everybody Loves the Sunshine, which is it's a liquid. You can even use that to cleanse or to do oil cleansing. It's our golden tanning oil. Now, it's not a self tanning oil, it's going to give you a beautiful golden tan. Then we took that formula and then we made it with non nanoized, uncoated zinc. So the cleanest zinc that there is, and then we have a block, but there's nothing in between. There's no because the SPF is only relegated for chemicals, but the
Okay.
zinc blocks, and then how it does is it deflects the rays, so the rays bounce off of you, so it scatters them. And so that's
Okay.
what you can do if you're gonna, be surfing in Hawaii or something, and you need that block and you can't wear a hat. So there are definitely times to block, but know when to let it in. And, experiment with the rest of your body if you don't wanna do your face.
I am quite certain that all the sun damage I have on my skin is from the sunscreen I used in the '80s. I think I got chemical burns.
We had burnt a bit
Mhm.
here, right? And we're baking that in with the chemicals. And then in my book, Renegade Beauty, I have a good chapter on sun. So I want to write a whole book on just the sun and skin and everything. I talk about that. I list the studies. What they found basically is that especially there was a Cochrane review study, which they take studies and then make a study from all the studies. So
Mhm.
it looked at 14 studies. And the general bottom line is the more you wear sunscreen, the more moles you will have, the more freckles you will have, the more skin dysbiosis you will have. And that was like a 20-year-old study. And then it's interesting, I'm finding like almost every few weeks now, a new study's coming out on how sunscreen is not helpful, can cause the skin diseases that we're looking to prevent. And we're going to find that more and more. And then the chemicals that are in there, like oxybenzene, which is banned in Europe, but used in North American sunscreens, is non-carcinogenic until it's exposed to light. So there's ingredients that we do not want to be using. And I feel like
Right.
it's really giving us a false sense of security that we're doing the right thing. And I mean, it makes sense. And I know that people are, saying to put on the SPF as, they really feel that that's like, good advice. It can make sense on one level, but it is harming us. And then
Um,
what they did find, even which I think we would know a lot more because we know a lot more about light now and blue light, and light really changed around 2010, 2012, because that's when LEDs really came in. Street lights became LED, headlights became LED, a lot of our home lights became LED. And then pretty much everybody started getting a smartphone, which is like blue light staring back at us, and the flicker rate is huge.
mhm.
So we turn our phones to red at night, we wear our blue blockers, we have incandescents. But this study that I quote in the book is from the 90s, and it was in the New England Journal of Medicine, I believe. And what it found is that for the very serious skin cancer, the closer you live to the equator, the more time you spent out at recreationally, and the more time you had in the sun, the less chance you were of getting melanoma. And that is seen to be rooted in people that were exposed to fluorescent light. And that was in the 90s before we literally, I mean, what job isn't sort of based or even around a computer screen, which
Right.
was not the way in the 90s.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into that. I can't wait to read your all your Substacks.
Well, and back to the 80s and our damage. I feel like what I've done since, even with the pineal gland peptide, really taking care of my melatonin, having that year-round base tan has actually, yeah, I felt like it reorganized the skin. The freckling went away, and the tone evened out from that because I did feel like I got too many burns here in the 80s. Baby oil and the sunscreen and the
Baby
chlorine
oil.
pool.
Oh my gosh, the baby oil and then the peroxide in our hair.
Yeah,
Yeah, all the things.
all the
Um,
things.
but I almost feel like the baby oil wasn't as bad as, like, the sunscreen because
Yeah.
I literally got blisters, and that was when I stopped using a sunscreen from the store. I was like, "I'm not doing this anymore," and you know what I started doing back then was I started taking PABA, which is what they
Ah,
took out of all of the sunscreens because there was a very small population of
what?
people who are allergic to PABA, which is fine.
Yes.
I mean, I appreciate being sensitive to sensitivities, but PABA actually works great internally if you take the capsules are cheap, and I did that and it worked phenomenally. And
Yeah.
then I found melanotan too, and just all the different information. When I hop on a plane and I want to have my peptides with me, which is always, one of my favorite ways to bring them with me is this way. This is a box of BPC 157 strips. This is a fantastic way to travel with your peptides. It's not even liquid. You don't have to keep them cold. You can just throw them in your wallet because when you take them out, they are a thin little piece of paper, kind of like the size of a post it note cut in half. And so all you do is you open the little package, you pop the strip into the roof of your mouth and let it absorb, and you've got your peptides for the day. Instamed sublingual strips, they do come in the BPC 157, the CJC 1295, which helps to naturally boost growth hormone and support recovery, GHKCU for collagen skin and anti aging, thymosin alpha 1, which is strengthens your immune resilience, and PT 141, which is for libido, energy, and mood. Now, the PT 141, that one's really fun to just have around for as needed. So, these are clean, convenient, and honestly, one of the easiest ways to start peptides without the overwhelm. But if you're already a peptide pro, this is one of the best ways to travel with your peptides. It's so easy. So you can shop all the options at ohm406.com. Just search Instamed and see what's possible. I do like to make a disclaimer here. This is not a sponsored ad. This is just a product that I love and that I use daily or almost daily. And so I want you to know about them too. Be well. Let's just go ahead and wrap it up here with a practical kind of reset. So, like, if someone was overwhelmed and wanted to begin tomorrow, like, what are the first couple of things you would have her start or stop doing?
I feel like the main thing, yeah, is really like if we're working on skincare, is just washing with oil. So, you know, putting away the other bottles and diving into the washing with oil because it will rebalance the microbiome and it just brings a glow that most
Mhm,
people aren't used to, and it brings them back into their skin, and it starts letting the skin do what it needs to do. That's
mhm.
really just so key.
And when someone is doing the oil washing and using the gua sha, is
Yes.
there a particular, like, motion or pattern that you recommend using with the gua sha when they're doing that?
There's so many awesome people just really rocking that. I love, unfortunately, she passed away, but she still has
Mm.
her awesome videos out, which is Donna Omari, and she no of Noi Skincare, NOY, and she has a great archive, and so she's really good to go with, but part of it, which I liked, is you can also just be like, first of all, you do obviously wanna be working, you know, up and away.
Like, away.
Yeah, and you don't wanna go back and forth, so you're up and
Right.
away, but some of it you can really just feel out, and you're like, "Oh, that feels good." So you just kinda,
Mhm.
like, go with the feeling of
Kind
it,
of pulling.
but yeah, you would just be really working here. There's sort of these vectors in the face that are natural, and then moving up, and even just things like scalp massage really help, still part of our face skin really, right? So then that gets slack, all the fun things. Some of what happens here is, like, it's really lymphatic. And the the SCM gets tight, so
This
that can
guy
really,
right in here.
yeah, exactly. We have, like, hundreds of glands in our neck.
Mhm.
So really, like, lymphatic health really helps, and one of the best things for that is, and they come down so much in price, is like a vibration plate, which are just really easily available now. One of the best things that you can do for your lymphatics, which ultimately just helps the whole neck area. If under here and the glands are puffy and they're holding that water weight a bit, that eventually, starts to, it brings weight here. So just making, taking care of the lymphatics is a bit of, as a game changer. Obviously, I love the best skin ever and we've made it and it's beautiful with jojoba, but you can just start with an organic jojoba, like just make sure it's organic and pure, or a pure olive oil, as long as you know it's like true blue, which there are those great brands, but
Mhm.
it's a pretty big also adulteration going on in the olive oil industry. But that's what you can work with. And then even, yeah, getting a little bag of baking soda. You could even add a pinch of the baking soda to that oil and cloth. And then that is like a little bit more of an exfoliation. And you can do that over your body, give it a rinse, and like maybe make a toner out of diluted apple cider vinegar or that carbon toner, and, like, it's just that alone will just be so transformative.
Beautiful. I love that so much. Well, let's skip to the deserted island question. So,
Yeah.
You are stranded on a deserted island. Clean food, fresh water, and shelter are all covered for you. So we are not wasting any supplements on basic survival, but you get to bring 3 supplements with you. What are you taking and why?
Well, I think I would bring that thymosin alpha, like, it's such an immune shield. I think I would bring that bioregulator and dilutin. Side note, bioregulator peptides, they all have these, like, I call them Russian IKEA names because they literally it's like
They do.
right? Like,
Yes,
their names are crazy.
they
So,
are crazy.
the
And they
and
make no
dilutin
sense.
no, none. Like, bring that. Oh my god, what would be the 3rd one? Maybe some charcoal,
Ooh, okay.
just to, like, in case there was something that we had to, like, absorb or, like, clay or something that just could absorb things.
Yeah, if you had to eat something weird.
Yeah. The shellfish didn't agree or something.
All right. Well, and you get to bring an essential oil with you.
Oh, yay.
What is your fave?
Now that is so hard. I wanna bring peppermint because it's just, like, such a first aid oil, and it's like ice cubes, and it would really help.
Mhm.
But you can't always just sorta use it freely because it's, like, peppermint. So I have to, like, sneak in some frankincense. Put my 5
There you go.
desert island oils in one blend, and it's called Dew Queen. It's part of the
Ooh.
dewdap family, and it's got peppermint, frankincense, rose otto, immortelle, and lavender. Now, those are, like
Oh,
I
wow.
could probably pick, like, oh, neroli's so good for aroma, but for skin workout or workhorse essential oils, that then you get the peppermint, but it's not too strong. That's what I designed, and people use it for, like, we can also use peppermint, but pre-injection sites for,
Oh.
peptides, so you won't
Oh,
get that little itchy bump. And you just took
really?
off the peppermint beforehand, and it also cleanses the skin, so you don't need to use the rubbing alcohol because you don't want that actually going into your skin or on your skin. So, yeah, the Dew Queen, and then you can put it all over, but not get the peppermint sting. Not sting, but, like, when it's just too pepperminty, and it's,
Yeah.
like, so good at calming, at cooling, at blemishes, scars, all the
Oh.
little things that are like, "What is that little bump on my body?" And you just put the Dew Queen on, and it's amazing.
Oh, that sounds incredible. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to come see you sometime and just sniff everything.
Yeah.
Nadine, where can listeners learn more about Living Libations, your books, and explore your creations and book a complimentary consultation with Joy?
Yeah, well, our main portal is the Living Libations website, so the books are there and for, joy and we have lots of articles, got a really good deep dive on the ancient art of oil washing that will take you through all the cultures and why it works, and lots of other articles, and then, both the books are also on Audible, and the dental book's even in 5 languages. It's on, of course, Amazon and all that too, and then, social media, like, I'm mainly on the Instagram, so we have the Living Libations one, but also Nadine Artemis is on there too.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned so much and had such a great time sharing tips with you and hearing more from you. I've learned a ton. Thank you.
Oh, well, it was so fun, and thank you to Natalie for bringing us together.
Yes, yes. Thank you, my lovelies, for reminding us that beauty does not have to mean attacking, stripping, correcting, or treating our faces like a home renovation project. Sometimes it's about supporting what is already alive with nature, science, and a little scent soaked magic. May your skin barrier be calm, your mouth microbiome be balanced, your pits be poetic, and your bathroom counter be slightly less chaotic. Please share this episode with a friend who owns 17 serums and at least one deodorant that betrayed her. There is hope for her pits yet. Be well.
Thank you for joining me here today on The Menopause Midwife. If you'd like more information or to work with me, feel free to check out my website and book a wellness consultation at ohm406.com. Be well.